Hey guys, Soft Cannoli here. I haven't done this commentary style stuff before, so be gentle with me, okay? Also, I'm a bit crook at the moment, so excuse my voice. Now, with that being said, let's just jump straight into it. News has just come out that all Helldivers on the PC are required to set up and link their Steam account with a PSN account in order to continue playing the game. To quote the official statement, as of May 6, all new Helldivers 2 players on Steam will be required to connect their Steam account to a PlayStation Network account. Current players on Steam will start to see mandatory login from May 30th and will be required to have linked a Steam and PlayStation Network account by June 4th. So, yeah, TLDR, if you're on the PC, go fuck yourself, love Sony. Emphasis on Sony because the official statement was released by Sony, not Arrowhead. And just to make sure we're all understanding this correctly, let's just take a look at what everyone else has got to say, and they're unhappy. Okay, so why is this happening? Well, to be blunt, it's because this is the result of an absolutely dick move made by the fuckheads at Sony, and unfortunately, it seems like a lot of hate is being directed in the wrong place. It goes without saying that everyone on PlayStation won't be affected by this change, and there are plenty of people who won't care about this, and that's fine. But it doesn't excuse the fact that this is a really shitty business decision that should be called out. Sony only cares about one thing, and it's the dollars. To highlight that, I'm going to draw connections to their stance on crossplay because I believe it's relevant. It's an established fact that Sony hates crossplay. They fucking detest it. They demanded compensation from Epic to enable crossplay for Fortnite since they contributed a higher player base. Look at the article I've linked in the description for the full statement. But to summarize, Sony's senior director of developer relations at the time, so around 2018-2019, said, many companies are exploring this idea, crossplay, and not a single one can explain how cross-console play improves the PlayStation business. To me, this highlights two things. One, they want control, and two, they want a way to offset any loss in revenue as a result of crossplay, i.e. the loss in sales due to the game being made available on other platforms. Now, let's play devil's advocate for a minute and consider how things are from Sony's perspective. Helldivers is PlayStation Studios' best performing title on Steam, but there is no moderation for this player base. PlayStation has systems in place to influence player behavior by imposing penalties on accounts that don't comply with their TOS for online play, and currently there is no such mechanism to enforce this to Helldivers 2 players on the PC. Steam is a video game distribution service. It's not there to moderate in-game behavior. Responsibility for player behavior will ultimately lie with Sony. Moving on. Sales for this game are mental. 8 million units sold by March 15th, the best-selling game in the UK for the second month in a row, and it's also the most actively played title on the PS5 in the United States, overtaking both Call of Duty and Fortnite. Lastly, Sony owns the IP for Helldivers and they have to share their profits with Arrowhead. It may not be a large fee, but it chips away at their margin for each unit sold, which gets them where it hurts. So tying this back to what I was saying earlier, they want control. Why? Well, how the fuck do you explain to the shareholders that you don't have control over a portion of the player base for your hottest new title? It's just an accident waiting to happen. The split of people on PC or PlayStation doesn't matter. And two, they want to offset any potential loss in revenue by selling your data, which they can't do if you don't have a PSN account. Both of these initiatives are again designed around protecting their bottom line. If you wanted to push back against this fact alone, that's completely justified. Personally, I don't think people are being consistent here as they probably give away their data all the time without even realizing it. But that's not the main issue. The main issue is the inconsistent terms and services for PC players and how this screws over people who live in countries where PSN is not available. Giving your data to Sony is a minor issue in comparison since you can just chalk that up to being part of the hoops you have to jump through in order to play modern games, which, by the way, is still a very fucked up practice that deserves criticism. You can make the argument that this was in the terms of service that you signed for when you purchased the game, but people have already started to point out that they've started changing the TOS to compensate. And if you look through the whole thing, you'll probably find that there's some fucking bullshit catch-all clause in there about them reserving the right to make changes at any time. So arguing it from a legal perspective is useless. But what recourse is there for people who live in parts of the world where PSN is not available? Well, they're essentially screwed. Based on Steam's existing policies, people are going to be unlikely to get a refund. And they can't just use a VPN to sign up for PSN, since it's probably going to get their account banned. The game should have been made unavailable in these countries to begin with. They've handed their cash over to Sony for the initial purchase, and in some cases probably additional funds, and now they're going to lose everything while Sony can walk away scot-free. And that's just from a monetary perspective. Like, we're not even considering the amount of hours that they've lost after investing time into this game. The PSN requirement was apparently initially disabled due to the chaotic launch. But I don't think this was in any way properly communicated, as now there is literally nothing some players can do about this. And you know what the worst part is? Sony holds all the power in this situation. Unless it's because of legal issues, it's due to their profit-minded orientation, which, it's a multi-billion-dollar business. Of course they're going to have profit on their mind. So whether it's because the data they collect isn't valuable, or they've determined that the revenue that can be derived from these locations doesn't justify the cost, Sony will be unlikely to reconsider offering their services in these countries. To me, it's clear this is a greedy business decision that screws over people. there's nothing we can do about it except to make our displeasure with these changes known, which people have been doing, but it needs to be directed in the right place. Everyone has a right to voice their opinion, but to go after Arrowhead is just wrong. Sony made this announcement, and it was likely part of their conditions being the publisher, and unfortunately there probably isn't much that Arrowhead can do about this. My confidence in them came from the idea that they presented themselves as people who wanted to do the right thing, that they're dedicated to their vision of the game while also being happy to listen to the community. But if we're being honest, how much of the feedback given has been useful and or constructive? Sure, you're bound to get shit coming back to you when you open up such a direct form of communication with the community. And surprise, surprise, there's plenty of examples of people representing Arrowhead clapping back. And what do you expect them to do? Make the argument that it's unprofessional or tone deaf, that they shouldn't do it. But what would you do in their situation? Are you sure you'd keep your cool? I believe that Arrowhead is genuine, and that's what gave me hope. That for once, this will all work out. That we'll get a good game that everyone can enjoy. And though I was confident about where the game was heading, I'm now pessimistic about the future because of the impact that this announcement will have in conjunction with the community's behavior. Getting shut down for making stupid comments about the game's balancing is one thing. It's been going on since launch. But harassing the team because of a decision they didn't make is another level of delusion. No one is saying you can't be upset, that this isn't wrong or scummy. But my brother in Christ, direct it to where it needs to go if you want to get it out of your system. This is a publisher-related issue, not a developer issue. Look at what's happening with Tarkov if you need a contemporary example to see the difference. Hindsight is 2020, but without a doubt, Arrowhead and Sony should have done a way better job of communicating this as a mandatory requirement. My voice is small. It holds no power, but if I had to say something, it would be direct your concern and displeasure to the right people because it's the only way we can try and influence change. It's too early to tell if this will spell the end for Helldivers. There is a chance this can change. We won't know how things play out until it's implemented and actually takes effect. It's possible that this is a nothing burger or the foundations of something that could formulate into the biggest fumble of 2024. But we'll only see change if it's directed properly. Again, Sony doesn't have much incentive to change anything, and I'm sure they couldn't give a fuck. But with how people have been acting concerning Arrowhead, I believe this will cause other problems later on as attacking them doesn't accomplish anything. I'm pessimistic about the future of the game now. That everything I've discussed will impair its ability to succeed in the future, but I hope that I'm proved wrong and that other people share this opinion as well. And most importantly, if there's one thing that you can take away from this, even if you disagree with everything else that I've said, fuck Sony, okay? Fuck Sony. I'm not covering this topic again, but I thought it prudent to comment on where things are at, considering I just made a video praising the game before the shit show started unfolding. So whether you disagree or not, let's just take this to the comments. If there's something I'm missing or not understanding, I would appreciate it if we can work it through together. My video is going to stay as it is. Let it just serve as a time capsule for how things were before this all happened. Who knows? Maybe one day we can look back on it all with nostalgia. But I'm not making any changes, and I've got no concerns about how it's going to age because you know what? It is what it is. Anyway, that's enough out of me for today. Get out of here, go touch some grass or something, and thanks for watching. I really appreciate the support from the latest video. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you all next time. Ciao ragazzi.